Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby. Let's all go to the lobby to get ourselves a treat.
Delicious things to eat.
The popcorn can't be beat. The sparkling drinks are just dandy.
You are listening to Phantasm Podcast.
Hey, this is Trevor Sternad.
Ryan H. back from the Black Dahlia murder.
From Gabriel Warrior.
This is Anthony Michael Hall.
This is Dave.
And this is Brett from Revocation.
Hey, this is Larissa from Band of Prison.
Terrence from Suffocation.
Phantasm Podcast.
Join your host Corey Gorchrist and Dr. Vincent West for exclusive interviews with the sickest bands in metal and more. Head over to cultofphantasm.com, the only gravesite for all things horror and death metal. No filler, all killer. Now please welcome our guest of honor.
Hey, this is Matt Barlow from Ashes of Aries, and you're listening to the Phantasm Podcast.
Devil Satan all alone. Of my sins I can't atone. Self-imposed, this is my hell. Forgotten souls, some 20 years. A vivid memory of your tears. Let me go, this is my hell.
And it's Dr. Vincent West with the Phantasm Podcast, and I have the pleasure today to have on a man that needs no introduction, one of the greatest voices in metal, and I'm here with Matt Barlow. How you doing, my friend?
Good, man. Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Awesome. Thank you for doing this. We really appreciate it. It's a huge honor to have you on. I've been a fan for a long time. I know a lot of our listeners are excited to hear from you. And we'll be talking all of things. Ashes of Aries, Well of Souls is now available. And just kind of jump right into this. I wanted to talk, if it's okay, just kind of from the beginning, how your involvement, how you came to be in Iced Earth.
Yeah, actually it's kind of interesting. I moved down to Florida with my brother, my oldest brother, back in, I can't remember, 89 or 90, one or the other. I can't recall exactly what year it was, but we moved down there to be in a band, and we had our own band, Cauldron, and we had great ideas of getting a band together and doing that, and we did. We met a couple of guys. We had some revolving members and things like that, and we were actually, as most bands back in the 90s, 80s, late 80s, early 90s did, and may still do down in Florida. I don't know, but we were hanging out in storage units. That's where everybody practiced. It was like pretty well known. Matter of fact, a lot of the big death metal acts of that era were all like in the same basic areas. So they all knew each other and all that. Now I was down in the Bradenton, Sarasota area. So there were some other, there were some bands that were in and around us. I mean, we had probably 5-6 bands, playing out of the storage unit that we were in. And or not in the unit, but in the store, in the storage facility, and so that's basically how I got kind of introduced to Rodney Beasley, who was the drummer for Iced Earth, back for Burnt Offerings, and so he was actually in another band, and at that time, I recall that the singer in his band had passed away. I think he had gotten in a car wreck or something.
Oh, wow.
Super nice guy. He had passed away, and so their bands were sort of, in limbo, and Rodney got the gig with Iced Earth. Well, after Rodney got the gig, John was looking for vocalists, and Rodney said, "Hey, I know this guy, from this band down in my area. Has sort of like he does some thrashy type vocals, but some King Diamond-esque high stuff, and that's kind of what I was doing, in Cauldron. My brother was a huge King Diamond fan, so it sort of made sense, I guess.
That's awesome.
But so I went up and auditioned, and it was like a really long kind of audition, So it was really. I think the thing is with John, it was the third singer going in. He sort of had some, Gene he had a great relationship with, but there were some issues that led to John Greeley, and then there were some issues that led John Greeley out the door, and so he wanted to not only have somebody that he could work with, like as far as the vocalist, and have vocal ability, but also a person that he felt like he could hang out with and could, we could write stuff together and go on tour and things would be cool. So after sort of a long process, I got the gig, and then we went in to do burn offerings, and that was cool, So it was a kind of a long. Just a long period kind of leading up to that. And I say long, it seemed like a lot longer back in those days because I was a lot younger. To me, now it's probably like a blink of an eye, and there you go. But back then it seemed like a really kind of a long process. But then that's basically it. And then history is as it is. We went on to do after burn offerings, there was sort of a bad taste in John's mouth, like with the whole record industry and the label, in particular Century Media. He
sure.
had some issue with at that time, so he kind of was able to at least rework the contract after that, and things were looking up, and then we kind of got into the Spawn thing and went with Dark Saga, and that became kind of like the breakthrough. I sort of think that was sort of the breakthrough for Iced Earth, where that's concerned, because it was just like the right time and everything just kind of all of the stars aligned and all that stuff, and it was just a really good thing for us, and I think it helped Iced Earth break through a little bit more in the U.S. And out of Europe, and it was a big hit in Europe as well, but it definitely, I think, got Iced Earth's foot more in the door in the U.S. and created more of a U.S. fan base, and they kind of grew from there. So
I wanted to touch on that real quick because Dark Saga was my first album from you guys. I also want to tell you that I think the Live in Athens is still my favorite live record I've ever bought.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Your vocals are so powerful on it. The music's so powerful. The crowd, everything about it. I Die For You, the live version of that, of course, I was like, wow, it was so amazing, and it's cool to watch the DVD, but I love listening to I still listen to the record to this day. When I'm on like a long trip, I'll listen to, all the CDs, and it's beautiful. And other question I had for you down at that time, because I'm a big death metal fan as well. Were there any of the bands that you guys were friends with down in there when you guys were playing down there? Or?
I sort of met guys kind of after the fact. Now John knew a lot of the guys for sure, for being in and out of War Sound for so many years. He knew a lot of the guys, and I did know some people. Some guys from Morbid Angel and Chuck from Death. It was still kind of a highlight of my life just knowing Chuck, and I didn't know him that well. But just a couple times that I met him and I spoke with him, he's just such a cool guy. It's like kind of one of those things that you still go, of all people, man. And obviously you don't, you certainly wouldn't wish something as tragic as what happened with Chuck on anybody. But the guy was just such a sweet guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
And a really, really brilliant guy as well. It wasn't just death metal that was inspired him. He had a lot of classical background and stuff like that, and he wrote some really, really cool stuff, man. He did some prog metal stuff that was amazing, and so anyway, that's just kind of off on a tangent there. But
I remember it was the last tour that I saw him. He had Hammerfall with him, and I thought that was so fucking cool. So, but yeah, I was just curious about that. But yeah, back to the Dark Saga. Like I really do. I love that. And the comic book thing, as popular as it is now, and you guys really touched on that way before that was ever even thought of.
Well, we were fans. John and I are kind of both nerds, and it's kind of funny because I can't remember what Christmas it was, but I got all the guys in the band like action figures, and I got John a Batman because he was a really big Batman fan.
Awesome.
And I thought it was cool, but also I did Spawn, and I was handing out, gave gifts to the other guys of Spawn, and I was like, what is that? And then that basically started off his interest in Spawn, and then he started going to get comics and read through all of them and got inspired by the storyline, and just it is what it is, man. It's pretty cool, but yeah. So that was the introduction. I can't wait for McFarlane to make this new Spawn movie come to fruition, man. I'm really looking forward to it.
Oh yeah, it would be. I'm excited as well, and I guess you probably were a fan of the HBO series.
Yeah, that to me was the definition of something as far as a visual form other than the comic book. That was it. That was the definitive visual form. So if they can make a movie, I mean, they've got it all storyboarded, man. I mean, literally, they could take that HBO series and put it to that and make a movie out of that. It would done. You know what I mean?
I completely agree with you. Yeah, it's fantastic. And then so we'll kind of jump ahead here. I wanted to briefly touch on. Would you mind talking about your involvement and how you became with Pyramids real quick?
Yeah, actually, it's funny. When we were, I switched careers, and I'm in law enforcement now, and I have been for about 15 years.
That's awesome.
So a few years into my law enforcement career, I was really, focused on that. Obviously, I had, and besides, I had a new son and another son on the way. So, my wife and I had our hands full with a lot of things. We were transitioning we moved from Indiana to Delaware, and Heather had never been out of, had never lived anywhere other than Indiana, and so it was kind of a big thing for us. So, those first couple of years were pretty intense, and but it was kind of nice. I think I got an email or no, MySpace. Was it MySpace? Mike I think Michael reached out to me through MySpace, man, which is kind of bizarre, but it kind of puts it in the time period perspective. And he said, with this band, Pyramids, and we're a Danish band, and we understand. Basically said, look, I understand that you have another gig, and we just really would like to work with you. And so I reached back out to him, and I was like, this sounds like it could be a cool thing. I got to invest in some gear and stuff, because I really didn't have anything, but I was I basically went and got this Pro Tools rig, and it was very basic, and I didn't really need anything other than just to do vocals. So basically, he started sending me files and stuff, and I started doing the vocals for it. He sent files, and he sent lyrics. He had all the lyrics written to all the songs except for one. He said, I could write the lyrics for one song, but as far as the melodies and how the lyrics were done, and I did move around some stuff a little bit on some of his lyrics with his permission, of course.
Awesome.
But I just had, he said, you can go with it, whatever your vocal melodies are, run with it, do whatever you want with it. And so I did. I think I had contacted, and I told him that I wanted Jim Morris to do the final vocals. I said I would start writing it, but when it comes down to vocals, I wanted him to do it. And he said that was cool. And I think that's when I reached out to Jim and I said, hey, what do I need to get? And I think that he recommended the Pro Tools, because Jim's a huge Pro Tools guy. So I got this basic gig and I started writing, and it was it took very fluid, and it took my wife would probably disagree with me, but I think it took a very very short amount of time. I put a lot of time into it, which meant a lot of time out in my studio, but
right.
It was went fairly quickly, and went down to Tampa, recorded the final tracks with Jim, just sent them over. I'd never sat down with Michael or sat down with any of the guys in Pyramids, so it was all just files, so everything that they sent, and I would play certain things, and it was kind of me knowing what the hell I was doing as far as spinning files and stuff. So
yeah,
really they went into it. They totally trusted me on the whole thing. So which is cool, because it worked out, and so but yeah, so after Jim and I got the files all done, we sent them over to Michael, and Jake Hansen was the producer at the time, and Jake's pretty famous guy. He does full beat and is in Pyramids now.
Oh wow!
So, yeah, so it was cool, man, and it worked out really well, and it was sort of my introduction into it. But kind of along the same timeline was when John had actually reached out to me and asked if I wanted to come back to Iced Earth, I had said, I would, but it would have to be under the stipulation I had to be able to work around my work schedule and things like that. And I did make sure that I told Michael and those guys, look, I'm going to go back with Iced Earth. If you don't want me to do the record for the fact that I won't be touring with you and stuff like that, I was totally cool with that. They were like, no, we still want you to do the record. So I did the record, didn't do any touring. I sort of wish that I wish I had done some shows with them, because I think it would have kind of been cool, even if it was just a few shows. But my plate was really full at that point. Again, my wife and I just had our second son, so 2 small kids. I couldn't juggle my career and 2 bands and all that. And
I couldn't imagine doing that and being in law enforcement and then trying to go on the road and be a dad, and that's got to be,
yeah. Yep. It was a lot, but my wife is incredible, and she was very supportive, and so.
That's amazing. Well, I wanted to tell you the standout track for me on that record, and you'll have to forgive me for not recalling it. The one with just you and the piano, Legacy, and
Legacy and a Rhyme. Yeah.
Your vocals on that, literally, and I want to tell you this. I had lost my friend to lymphomatic cancer about a year prior to that record coming out, and that song got me through a lot of really tough shit.
Well, man, I'm happy to that it helped you out, man. I'm sorry.
I think your vocals are so powerful on that song, and I love Iced Earth and I love Ash Sterries, but I mean, man, you really, that thing struck a nerve with me. Like, it was, to this day, I think it's absolute just beautiful music, and I just wanted to tell you that. That's why I brought the Pure Mace thing up, honestly, also just to tell you that. But
right on. Well, that's kind of that song is sort of the reason that Jonah and I got together to do We Are Sentinels, because that's sort of what we were, whenever Jonah had approached me with doing like a metal record, and I from Pure Mace, and I said, well, man, you do this stuff really well. You do this like cinematic, like orchestral stuff, and piano stuff. I said, you do it really well, man.
But I really wanted to thank you for that. I think that record is criminally, ridiculously good. It's so good. Your vocals, like I said, they're outstanding on it. The mix, the production, everything. I like to listen to it with like these Bose headphones I have on, and it's outstanding to listen to. So we'll get into Ashes of Aries, and would you like to talk about just briefly how you got started with that, and then we'll get into the new album?
So basically, when I rejoined Iced Earth and we started touring, Freddie and I, we just like clicked, man, because he came into the band to play bass, so he was new to the band, and I was sort of new back to the band, and we just clicked, man. We had a really good relationship, and we hung out a lot on tour. Did a lot of stuff together. We go for walks and check out the cities and stuff like that. And we just spent a lot of time together. So we just kind of had a good bond. And so whenever I departed, well, actually we've talked about doing some stuff, because I know he writes a lot. He wrote a lot, and he had lots of stuff from previous bands, and he's just a really well-rounded musician. Plays guitar, bass, drums, the whole 9 yards. So we had talked about doing something together outside of Iced Earth. Well, I had left the band, and he had stayed on with the band, toured some, did the Dystopia record, I think, or no, I don't know which record they did together. Anyway, it's not really. I think it's Dystopia. Maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, so he did a record with Iced Earth and did a tour, and then he departed Iced Earth. So when he was done, he reached out to me and said, hey, do you still want to do some stuff together? And I said, yeah, why not? We got time. And so that's basically how it started. We just started writing music together. We had just about a whole record written, the first record, when we got Van on board, because Van had just left Nevermore.
Okay.
And Van and I have known each other for 20 plus years or something, and so that's how Van got on board, and kind of the rest is history where that's concerned. But we wrote the whole record, got it signed to Nuclear Blast, put it out there. We were able to do some touring, did a European tour, did a couple of U.S. legs tours, And then there was a bit of a hiatus. Van's wife was diagnosed with cancer.
Oh my God, that's awful.
Yeah, there was just kind of a lot of things that went on, which led to kind of a lapse of time in between. And obviously, he needed time to take care of things, and we needed to. We were still writing, and a lot of the songs that are on Well of Souls were are several years old. At least the beginnings of them are several years old, and we tweaked things out as we got closer to recording. But in the meantime, Van had gotten involved with Bishop Octavius, and I want to say that's more his passion as far as more progressive metal, and that wasn't exactly where obviously where Ashes Berries is. We're more of just a heavy metal driven kind of thing. There's a little progressiveness in there, but just more straightforward. So Freddie and I continued on with Van. Van slipped out, because it's a lot, man. Doing two bands would be a lot, and obviously Bishop was his kind of his love, more of his passion. We were still friends. He actually did the record with us because he had time to do it. So it worked out. Like he knew a lot of the songs, prior to, so it didn't take him a lot to get on, and whatever stuff that Freddie had written, basically Van just kind of went and played. So
awesome.
It's really, Grammy's a great drummer, so it worked out really well. He was able to record all his stuff at his home studio for Well of Souls. I was able to record the vocals at my home studio, and Freddie recorded his stuff there. Basically, Freddie and I got together with Rob at Terrarium in Minneapolis and did the mix, and that's kind of what it boiled down to. We were able to do a lot of the stuff just in our home studios, which is great for us.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Well, it just helps really on the here's the thing. Neither Freddie nor I are we're not sound engineers. I know a lot of bands coming out now are basically just becoming sound engineers as a means to write their music. They're becoming engineers as they're writing or what have you, or as they're coming up. So a lot of bands can do almost everything, like in a home studio scenario. We can't do that. I mean, I can't. I'm just way too old, man. I'm 48, almost 49 years old. So
right.
I come from the era of 2-inch tape. You know what I mean? I was
yeah.
Back into that. So I'm not really a studio savvy guy where that's concerned. I like to sing, and I can record stuff on my thing, but it really doesn't take much for me to hit the button and kind of sing. And so that's where I'm at. But as far as we still need somebody that can mix and master and do all that cool stuff. So that's why we went to Terrarium. He's Rob. It's where I recorded the vocals for We Are Sentinels. Rob's a super cool guy. We hit it off really well with Sentinel stuff. So that's why we ended up doing the mix there and all that. So
it sounds great. The record sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's different. We intentionally wanted it to sound a little bit different than the first record as far as sonically. We knew we wanted it to be a little grittier, and there were some low end issues a little bit, I think, with the first record that we wanted to sort of alleviate. We wanted to really punch through, the guitars to really punch through. We wanted to be a more guitar heavy record than the first one was. I think the first record we sort of with the mix, it was a little more vocal heavy, and the guitars didn't punch through as much, and we wanted to really make sure that this record did that. So hopefully everybody digs it. I haven't really heard anything bad about it as far as sonically or anything like that. Obviously everybody has different musical tastes and things like that. A lot of people compare, is it Iced Earth or is it, whatever. It doesn't
right.
Like, but it is what it is, man. We're Ashes of Aries, and so we're not trying to emulate Iced Earth or even remotely sound like Iced Earth. But sometimes, because they're my vocals, you're going to get that. So
yeah, of course, and that makes sense. That's going to happen with stuff. Yeah. And then the album's out now. It came out November 9th, and it came out on Rock of Angels Records. And I wanted to ask you a little bit, just real quick, before we do the track by track, but talk a little bit about the cover art. I love the cover art for it.
Yeah, man. So this guy I've known we've known for years. He lives in Poland, Camille, and I don't dare try to pronounce his last name because I would murder it, I'm sure, and I don't want to do that to him. But if you look on the liner records or even look him up, Camille, artist, whatever, Google Camille, Polish artist, he just has a look and a feel to his art that I've just drawn to. You know what I mean?
Right.
I always kind of have. I don't know if you're familiar with like Simon Bisley. I've always been a huge Simon Bisley fan.
Oh yeah, definitely.
That's who kind of like I told him that the first time I saw his stuff. So you really remind me of Simon Bisley with the way that you do things. And he, of course, he's a huge Simon Bisley fan. So it was like a good, or even a Frank Frazetta. He's got that kind of vibe, just darks with shades of light and things like that. And I just always dug his stuff. So. And he reached out to us for the last record to do some artwork. We had already kind of committed to what we were going to do with the first record. We didn't want to go, really arty, but Van did the artwork for the first record with the logo and all that stuff. So
yeah, it's awesome.
That is Van's creation, so that's what we went with that. So we wanted to do something different with this one, and so we were pitching the concepts to him, and because basically we came down to it, he wanted to do something for every song. So we were like, okay, cool, right? You want to do that? That's fantastic, And he did the layout for the record as well. So he did everything. But we just started throwing ideas at him about what the songs were about and stuff like that, and he just picked it up and just ran with it and just blew it out of the water. So
it's very powerful.
Yeah. So the front cover, ends up being. His vision for the Well of Souls trilogy. That was kind of his thing, and that's what we ended up going with, because it would just really looked very heavy and just I don't know, man. I love it. I think it's phenomenal. So I just love his artwork, and I love his vision.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It really is. And if you're cool now, we'll go track by track of the new album, Well of Souls.
Sure.
And then the track 1, Consuming the Manna.
Yeah, so Consuming is actually one that Freddie had written years and years ago. He wrote the lyrics and had basically written the music. We changed it a little bit because it was more of a death metal-y kind of a vibe.
Sure.
So I took the lyrics that he had. I reworked them a little bit and made them a little more singy. Obviously, put a vocal melody to it. A lot of what we do in the chorus part is still basically his. It's just like a little bit more barky, a little more aggressive. So then the verses are a little sung more, a little more melody in there, but a lot of that is Freddie stuff, so it's really got his signature all kind of over it. It's about the storyline is about the Hawaiian warrior culture, because Freddie is part Polynesian.
Oh, okay.
And, he grew up in Hawaii and stuff, and so that's kind of his vibe. So.
Well, it's a great way to open the record, and then track 2, The Alien.
Yeah, so The Alien is about the original. It's actually about a superhero, and without me saying, coming right out and saying.
Oh, gotcha. I think I know who you're talking about.
Yeah. So as a matter of fact, his arch nemesis often refers to him as the Alien. So. It's sort of like one of those things, but yeah, it's and it does have store people that they read the lyrics and they think that I'm talking about Christ. I'm not. I'm definitely talking about Superman. However, there are a lot of people that are the original writers of that were I believe certainly had a Messiah in mind whenever they were writing the storyline. So. That's sort of my ode to it, and I wanted to do that duality and create those parallels, because I think that the initial idea in the story was that. So,
I'm adopted, and I've been attached to the Chris Reeve era Superman and the comics in general since I was a kid.
Right.
So that makes that song even more special for me. That's really cool. Track 3, Unworthy.
Yeah, so Unworthy is kind of, again, I I tend to make things a little bit so people can interpret. But this is definitely an individual who has some problems, some internal demons, and kind of projecting. I guess you would say projecting these things and taking in these ideas of people are speaking ill of him, and it's not to say that those things aren't happening, but what are the ramifications of that? What are the ramifications of bullying of these things, especially if you're talking about somebody maybe who may have some instabilities, whether they be physiological or psychological, and the potential of us as human beings, instead of staying or dealing with somebody in such a negative way, actually maybe reaching out to somebody that may have some issues and seeing if there's something that we can do to maybe help those people, rather than just be looking at them as an outcast and doing nothing positive for these people. So that's kind of my gist of it. I sort of try to look at it from both sides a little bit, outside and inside, but
sure.
That's basically what it boils down to.
It's brilliant. I really like that. Track 4, Soul Searcher.
Yeah, so Soul Searcher is kind of getting back to a theme that I really love. I really love the vampiric themes, which I've done, on several records, not only Iced Earth, but also the last record with Ashes.
Right.
So this is basically about a lost soul, somebody who has lost his soul, actually, who's basically been damned to walk the earth, soulless, a vampire, and trying to get his soul back from, and obviously the only way that somebody who has been turned can get their soul back or reach salvation is to eliminate the vampire that turned them.
Right.
This person has been roaming the earth for generations and has never been able to find locate that person. So that's sort of what it is. But also, again, with the duality that I really enjoy, you can sort of look at the lyrics also as a love song, or somebody who's been or a tragic love song, I guess, somebody whose soul has been crushed. And that's not to say that this wasn't some sort of loving relationship at one time, but as things are in relationships, end or what have you.
Right.
This lost or left roaming the earth looking for their soul. So that's kind of where we are with that.
That's amazing. Track 5, Sun Dragon.
Yeah, so Sun Dragon is I've sort of always been a fan of like the big cataclysmic stories. Earth-ending stories, and I've often wondered and sort of have been really scared about the possibility of a sun flare, and of a large enough sun flare to really do some damage to the Earth, and what that would do to us as human beings, and throw us back basically to the Stone Age if it was
right.
If it was a large enough event, because it would not only potentially scorch the Earth, but also kill every bit of power that we have on the planet at one time. So that would really throw us back a lot, and it wouldn't just be the event itself, but also humanity. It would really become animalistic, I believe, in a couple of days. It would only take a couple of days, and it would really be a nightmare. So that's kind of my take on that.
You brought back my childhood. I started thinking when you were describing that Thundar the Barbarian, the cartoon.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, that's awesome. Track 6, Transcending.
Yeah, so Transcending is sort of like the uplifting song. It's sort of meant to be just that we're moving to another level spiritually, and sometimes certain events in life, and in our life, can make us see the bigger picture and really appreciate life. Even sometimes the more tragic things that occur can really help us look at life in a different way, and to help us transcend spiritually. And that's sort of where that song goes.
Oh, it's amazing. Track 7, Let All Despair.
Yeah, so Let All Despair is the first song in the Well of Souls trilogy, and it is kind of again one of those end of the world kind of a vibe. Except this is more along the lines of a spiritual change. So Let All Despair is almost a prophecy to what's going to happen with the Earth whenever the Earth goes into another stage of life, which is oftentimes, as you know, like on a seasonally, we deal with it here seasonally on a yearly basis, but sometimes the Earth itself goes into a dormant stage, which is, pretty close to death. It's when there are no more souls created from Mother Earth, and basically kind of life stops, but at the same time it makes us very susceptible to other things in the universe, which leads us into the next song, In the Darkness, which is, the darkness is in this particular song, or in this particular trilogy, the boogeyman, or the boogeyman of the universe, so to speak.
Okay.
And preys on planets that are in their dormancy. And so, within this story, human beings, this is from a human, humans looking out, this is the first time that humans have actually ever witnessed this particular dormancy on Earth, because we're pretty new here. You know what I mean? We're new to the neighborhood, so we're freaking out. We don't know what's going on and all this stuff, but there are people out there that do know, but most of humanity don't know, and so that's where it's at. So going into the next song. Again, In the Darkness is about that entity out there in the universe that preys on planets.
Oh, that's awesome. And then track 9, Spirit of Man.
Yeah, so Spirit of Man again is sort of that the idea of humanity kind of, and it's basically humanity crying out to the Mother Earth and saying, you can't just leave us like this. We are vulnerable. We need your help. You can't let us just perish. And which, at the end of the day, humanity could be wiped from the earth, and the earth would still survive. And we all know this. We can look back at history, like real history, and see that the top of the food chain has been wiped off the face of the earth before. We know this, and then it lends rise to other life forms that then become top of the food chain. Well, as humanity, because we can think and reason and we know kind of what's going on, think about how absolutely frightening that would be. And so we're pleading out to the earth to keep us alive. So that's basically where it is. I would love to kind of go back into this and revisit the story, because I think there's a lot more story to it, but we'll see what happens.
Awesome. It sounds incredible, the story. I mean, I love the songs. I had no idea how much meaning behind the lyrics. It's amazing. Give me a different way to listen to it now. Track 10, Time Traveler.
Yeah, so Time Traveler is actually, I kind of wrote that with my kids in mind, because we as human beings, we think of the idea of time travel, and it's great. It's an awesome thought and all that. But we know that we are physical beings. We are trapped in these dimensions that only we can only survive within these dimensions. There may be other dimensional beings that can travel through time or in time, but we can't. And so our only means of time travel is to have offspring, and then pass our ideas down through history, and pass on stories and our creations and all these things to future generations, and hopefully that sustains, and that's our way of traveling through time. So this was sort of to my two boys, because they're my time travelers.
That's awesome. That's really neat. Track 11, The God of War.
Yeah, so God of War is that's the namesake of our band, basically, is Ares, and so we wanted to pay tribute to Ares, and it's sort of one of those things. Obviously, the whole concept of Ares is kind of spooky. If there was somebody that was actually a personification of war, what would that that person or that god live off of, and that would be chaos and war and betrayal and fear and all these things that war tends to bring about. So that's kind of a lot of the lyrics you can kind of see into that as somebody a personification of war. What is that person feeding off of, and basically just talking in the ear of human beings and saying, look, I've always been here, man, so I'll always be around. And that's kind of freaky and spooky, but that's kind of the concept that we wanted to go with it. And when I was listening to what Freddie was writing musically, I just thought it just kind of had that cool, creepy kind of vibe. So that's where we went with that.
It's a great way to close out the record with all the original tracks. And then, of course, you have You Know My Name, which is a Chris Cornell cover. You want to explain why you guys decided to do that?
Yeah, well, Freddie and I are really, really big James Bond fans, and we didn't even realize it until we realized it that we both love that song. And it was kind of like one of those things. It was like, it would be really cool to do this song. And I'm like, absolutely it would be. I mean, I love the song. I love the fact that it was, kind of in the rebirth of the Daniel Craig version of 007. That was the lead, the kickoff. And I've just always loved the song. And it just so happened, with Chris Cornell, his passing recently, it just made sense for us. We just Freddie had done a version of it, a metalized version of it, and we just wanted to do it. We thought it would be a great tribute, and so we did it, and it was a lot of fun doing it, and we had a great time, and I think it adds to the record. So.
And that's from what, Casino Royale?
Yeah, correct.
I'm a huge Bond fan myself. I want to ask you this real quick, since it just popped up. Do you have a favorite Bond? I was destroyed when Roger Moore died, because I grew up with his movies, and Sean's, of course, too. But him passing really bothered me. Like I was like, wow, this really sucks.
Yeah, I definitely loved Roger Moore as well. And all those movies, and that was definitely my era. And I was always watching Sean Connery, the older Sean Connery films with my dad, because that was more my dad's Bond, and so then Roger Moore and Timothy Dalton, and those were probably my era in the 80s, 90s, and stuff like that. Pierce Brosnan.
The Dalton films, I think, are great.
Yeah, I mean, I really loved them all. There were a couple in there that were a little, but I think that they've done really well. I think they did a great job with Daniel Craig, and they've brought it into almost a more modern, dare I say, more believable Bond. It's definitely not believable.
Sure.
You know what I mean? They kind of gotten a little more grounded, a little more. I think they were probably inspired by the Jason Bourne type action stuff, which is cool with me. I'm really cool with that. It's really hard to. I'm sure it's really hard for them to compete now with movies like the Bourne stuff and or like John Wick. I'm a big John Wick fan now.
Oh yeah.
But you still have to do that. With an action film, you have to be kind of cool and hip. A little trendier on modern trends and things like that. So yeah, it's cool.
I think. Do you have a favorite you could name from each Bond? Do you think?
I don't know. See, I would say maybe Goldfinger for Connery. I really like For Your Eyes Only.
That movie's awesome.
Yeah. Dalton, I'm not really sure. I mean, Lazenby, obviously there was only one, which was awesome.
It is a good movie.
Yeah, it's a great movie. I think he was a great Bond. It's just unfortunate that his time was so short-lived. Goldfinger, Goldeneye for
Brosnan. Classic.
Yeah. And then probably Casino Royale for Greg, for Daniel Craig, but did I get them all? I don't know.
Yeah, you did. My favorite Connery's Diamonds Are Forever. Is that weird?
Yeah, it was a cool one. That was a cool one.
I don't know why I like that one so much. I saw it, like on ABC Sunday Night Movie growing up, and I was like, man, I just really liked it, And then Roger, I'm going to have to go with you on For Your Eyes Only. I've always had a soft spot for that one. I don't know. I really like that. And then Dalton, Living Daylights. But yeah, I wanted to thank you so much for this. It's been an absolute honor. Well of Souls is available now from Ashes of Aries. It's an amazing record. It's one of my top 10 picks from last year, my Dr. Vincent West list of albums from 2018. It's fantastic. And just real quick, did you guys have any plans? Are y'all going to be playing any shows? Or?
Yeah, we're working on stuff right now, man. I don't want to announce anything until we get things.
Sure.
Nailed down, so I'll have to hold out on you with that.
No, it's okay. When we do, we'll put it on the page for you. And like I said, this has been an absolute thrill for me, and I can't thank you enough. It's such an honor to get to speak with you and everything. All the years of listening to your great music, and I know our fans will be happy to hear this. And yeah, pick up Well of Souls from Ashes of Aries. It's available now. And yeah, I can't thank you enough, Matt. This has been an absolute honor.
Hey, right on, man. Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Open up a dying world, hurling through space and time. So young, you cannot say you've not your destiny. There's a lot of choices you can make on Super Tuesday for your country, or you could just choose Godless Heathens. Available now from myself, Dr. Vincent West, Medical Doctor, baby.